I want you to write this down, and I'm going to explain it in a minute. I want you to write this down. It's www.naturesacred.org. And if you care about nature, if you care about open spaces, if you care about finding a little piece of tranquility in an urban metro area, you need to know that website. Nature's Sacred was started by a Des Moines couple, actually, 30 years ago. They were in London, and they were in the middle of the city and feeling very jostled and kind of intense. And then they unexpectedly encountered a portal into a park. They entered and was immediately struck by the sense of tranquility, the immediate transition from urban fray to verdant calm. Lining the walkway through the garden were multiple benches, many inscribed with captured reflections of men and women who had sought refuge in this very place during the darkest days of World War II. What they saw, felt, and read changed the couple. And that's Kitty and Tom Stoner. The need, both 30 years ago as well as today, is as strong as it was in 1940s London. What they experienced that day in the garden ignited something in Tom, and soon after, when they returned to the United States, they began laying plans for a nonprofit that would see the creation of small urban green spaces, some call pocket parks, concentrating our efforts in communities where the need was particularly urgent. In a sentence, they believe nature can help us heal. Let me give you some numbers about Nature Sacred. They have created, in those 30 years, 100 different sacred places created, including one at Des Moines. I sat in that bench and it's so comfortable. 200 plus community organization collaborations, over 10,000 annual visitors engaged in programming, and get this, for y'all climate change folks, 5 million gallons of stormwater captured annually. And I was fortunate to meet a vivacious, intense person by the name of Megan Cook, who is the director of development. And if you spend 5 minutes with Megan, you will know that this is more than just a job or career to her. So I asked her, and I'm going to read this just briefly. I said, Megan, as intense as you are about Nature Sacred, and it's certainly a worthy venture, what is your personal story? In my prior career roles, I worked in higher education, a natural conservation nonprofit within healthcare, all areas that Nature Sacred impacts and finds partners. I also had a deeply personal experience with the healing power of nature just 1 year before I was introduced. In the summer of 2019, my father was dying from heart failure. His medical team in Tennessee had resigned themselves to the idea there was nothing more to be done. I disagreed. After arranging a transfer to Inova Heart and Vascular Institute in Virginia and arriving by private medical plane, my father spent another 6 weeks in the hospital. In total, he spent 10 weeks in the hospital, all indoors with windows that overlooked mostly concrete parking lots or rooftops. My father survived the surgery and began rehab. As anyone might imagine, he was dispirited, exhausted, depressed from all he had endured. I bought him a Superman cape and told him that a rooftop garden was just outside the unit's doors. He just had to work towards being strong enough to get there. A week later, he triumphantly walked into that garden. I will always remember how he tilted his head upward to feel the sunshine and how he asked to stay a little longer outside on a bench. He'd been deprived of nature for 2 months, and he deeply appreciated being in nature and knowing he was alive.